Okay, Ms. Henderson, it is 4 o'clock.
We're ready to get started when you are. I'm still admitting people to the conference, but you can go ahead and start.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I know Charlie's going to do the welcome, but welcome to our Workforce Development Zoom meeting on February the 4th, 2021. We want to let everyone know that this is a meeting of the community to basically bridge the gaps between education and our economic situation here in Coffee County. I'm quite sure they deal with surrounding counties, but I want to take time to welcome everybody to let everybody know that we need to be mindful and respectful of each other also, and to understand that this is here for informational purposes. If you have any questions, make sure you put them within the chat. Put your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that those questions are answered at a later date, because we don't want to inconvenience or put anybody on the spot. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Okay. Now we will have Mr. Charles Davis, our city manager, give the welcome and the purpose of the meeting.
Thank you, Tabitha. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to echo everything that Tabitha said. This is a good way to bring information to the community. But first, everybody, welcome and thank you for joining this meeting. For those that are presenting and those that are learning, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this. Yes, simply the purpose is to promote and educate everybody about, the workforce development programs that we have out there through our regional commission and Wiregrass, and bring attention to all the resources that we have in this community. And if there's any questions concerning that, the Wiregrass and regional commission would be able to answer those questions. And so with that, Tabitha, we'll continue on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis. I appreciate that welcome and introduction. Now we will have our community response to the welcome by Dr. Lewis Logan.
Let me say good afternoon and greetings to everyone who is a part of this, I think, very important conversation. To our hostesses, I'll say, give kudos to Ms. Henderson for doing an amazing job of pulling us all together, despite the prospects of herding us together like cats, trying to figure out what worked for all of us, and to our city representatives and officials, and to all of the agencies who are represented. Thank you all for adjusting your schedules and making a priority an opportunity to interface with the community. And as been suggested earlier, this is an information session, and I'd like to also posit that the information is, I guess, ground setting for a dialogue. The community is the resource as well as the resources that are being offered by the various agencies, and we are collectively stakeholders in this process of conversation. So I want to thank you all for doing something that is perhaps unprecedented. Possibly the fact that we are in a cyber conversation in a Zoom presentation, if you will, this speaks to what we are talking about in terms of a pandemic. Within our community, we deal with and face a pandemic of economic and education challenges. And hopefully together, we'll be able to address what we feel are some tremendously important opportunities. I always feel that challenges are opportunities, and I hope that this conversation today will be an opportunity for future conversations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Logan, for that. Now we have the introduction of all the presenters. I don't know them real well, but I'm going to introduce them a little bit and then allow them to introduce themselves properly. First, we'll have our first presenter will be Miss Brandy Wilkes of Wiregrass, Georgia Technical College. And also, I think she's Associate VP for the Economic Development and Georgia TAP Executive Director. And kudos to Georgia TAP. I went through that program, excellent program. Also, Miss Roberta Lovett, Southern Georgia Regional Commission, Workforce Development Director at Southern Georgia Regional Commission. Also, Miss Brandy Wilkes, if you would, you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself and let us know who you are and what you're here to present.
Thank you so much, Ms. Paul, for that. I am, as you said, the Vice President of Economic Development for Wiregrass, and I'd like to start out by just saying that we really appreciate all the hard work that's gone on behind the scenes to put this opportunity together for us. We're excited to share some information about Wiregrass and all the programs and great resources and services that we have as part of the economic development drivers and workforce development partners in the community. And we just always love the opportunity to share. And we have a PowerPoint presentation that we'd like to go through to just talk about some of the things and brag on some of the great things that we do. And we also have a lineup of some of our subject matter experts that are going to help co-present and talk about their areas. Would you like for me to introduce the people now, or do you want to continue with the introduction of the other presenters and then circle back for us to start our presentation, and I can introduce everyone else then?
That'll be fine. Your choice.
Well, let's go ahead then, and you can, Roberta can go ahead and speak, and then when we start with our more formal information sharing, we'll introduce each other in succession as the PowerPoint goes along, just for the sake of everybody's time, and I think it'll flow better that way if you're okay.
Yes, ma'am. Could you give me just a second? I'm so sorry. Let me apologize because I did not take a moment to allow others that are on this Zoom meeting to to say that they're there, because I want the community, because this is about the community. I do not want to leave them out because they are on the call also. If I don't know how many is on the call because I ain't been able to switch to it, but other people that are on this call, if you would like to just introduce yourself, say your name and where you're from, please do so. That way everybody will know that you're on the call, who you are. If you would, please.
This is John Henry with the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Authority. I greatly appreciate everybody attending this. This sounds like a great program. I'm interested in hearing what's going to be going down today. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, sir.
This is Courtney Taylor representing Optima Chemical.
Thank you, Courtney.
Hi, this is Pam Smith, CEO and Principal of Wiregrass Regional College and Career Academy.
Hello, Pam. Thank you.
This is Thompson, South Georgia College. I appreciate everyone attending in arranging this meeting, and thank you for the opportunity to listen and participate.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Tina Anderson, the president at Wiregrass, and excited about what we're going to hear today.
Thank you so much. Anybody else that want to introduce themselves? You can, if not.
Hello. This is Michael Newton with Central Georgia Technical College out of Warner Robins, and also a pastor in Douglas, Georgia.
Thank you, sir.
Michael Newton, Central Georgia Technical College out of Warner Robins, but also a pastor located in Douglas, Georgia, with the Citizen Recidivism Program.
Thank you, Pastor Newton. Is that all of the people that would like to introduce themselves? We'll move forward with the presentation. from Ms. Brandy. We'll let you take it from here, Ms. Brandy. Thank you.
Is everyone able to see the presentation on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. And guys, please mute your phones. Only the person that's talking needs their phone to be unmuted, if you would, please. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again. This is Brandy with Wiregrass, and we'll start our presentation now. And to kick us off, we're going to ask April McDuffie, who's our Associate Vice President for Institutional Effectiveness, to talk a little bit about her area.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to meet with you today. The mission of Wiregrass Georgia Technical College is workforce development. It can all be summed up, you see it on the screen, but it can all be summed up in those two words. And today you're going to hear from all of our departments on how we achieve what we have set forth in this mission. However, before we dive into that, we wanted to let you know how we research and develop strategies for the programs we offer and what student support services we offer. When Wiregrass gets together annually, we look at our strategic plan. That's how we plan our college-wide goals for the next 5 years. Our current plan is set for 2021 through 2025, and you can find that on our website. And we add annually to this and assess how we reached our goals for that year. To develop our strategic plan and our college goals, we use a variety of assessments and surveys to solicit community input and involvement. We conduct an extensive community needs assessment with our stakeholders every 2 years. In fact, we just wrapped one up this week. We have a program advisory council for every single one of our program groups that we offer at the college, where business and industry representatives from each of our communities serve and provide valuable feedback into each of our programs and look at our student success in each of our programs. Our students participate in student surveys throughout the year, and we use that data as far as planning and bettering our student support services. We also review the EMSI labor market data for the next 10 years of projection of growth for our 11 county service area, and the list of in-demand occupations that are defined by our local workforce development board. And you've met Roberta that governs that board, so I'm sure you'll hear more about that as well. And once we gather all of that, is how we assess what programs to offer, how to enhance our current offerings and so forth. Once we identify a possible new program that we may need to be offered, we conduct a program needs assessment throughout our communities with the employers that would hire that position. And a little later in our presentation, Deanna Clements is going to speak about all the current programs we offer. But at this time, I'm going to turn it back to Brandy Wilkes, that's going to talk about our continuing ed programs.
Thank you, April. Yes, I am in the economic development department, which means that I get to work with all of our non-credit programs, and continuing education is certainly one of our areas that we offer training in on the non-credit side. And if you'll notice on that slide at the bottom, it has a web address for our continuing ed. We publish our schedules for continuing ed classes out there by campus every quarter, so you can look at what we have to offer, and there's registration links there. You can register for our classes through continuing ed. They are short-term classes. Some will be just a couple hours, one session. Some, will take several weeks, but you'll get a good idea of what we offer on that website. Not only do we do initial certifications like CPR for basic life support or heart saver, people who need to obtain a CPR card or renew their CPR card, but we do other areas as well. Just to mention a few of the most popular that lead to workforce development and help with workforce development efforts are, we ought to do the OSHA forklift safety cards, and we do the OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 general industry and construction, and those certifications are certainly valuable to the employer community. We also offer a good range of online courses as well as face-to-face, both short-term personal and professional development type courses, and some fun things in there as well. But longer-term, more intense online career training is offered also on that website. And then the other thing that we do a good bit of on non-credit is we partner. I know Courtney with Optima's on the phone, and Optima and others too as well are great community partners, and we partner with them to help. And you'll hear about our career services match our graduates with jobs, but we also partner with industries in our service area to do what we call contract training, which is customized training for the existing workforce. If they need to brush up on some skills or learn some new skills, they can come to us for shorter term training as opposed to some of the longer academic programs that do lead to academic credentials. That's all I have. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Deanna Clements. Deanna is our Vice President for Academic Affairs, and she's going to talk to you about our traditional academic programs.
Thank you, Brandy. I appreciate it. You know, I'm always excited to talk about the academic programs that we offer at Wiregrass, because I do believe that, you know, one of the things that brings me the most pride is seeing our graduates be able to go to work and make changes in for them and for their families. We can certainly see that, and this is a year of success for us. I'm gonna get to share a story about the 2020 state finalist who happens to be a Wiregrass student in just a minute. But let me tell you just a little bit about the types of academic credit that we offer at Wiregrass, because one of the things that we've tried to do is make sure that our programs match the needs of the community. As Ms. McDuffie was talking about just a minute ago, you know, the community certainly drives, you know, the businesses and industries that are coming into our areas drive the programs that we have. Our mission statement can be summed up really in two words, which is workforce development. I mean, we want to make sure that our graduates leave our programs qualified to go to work in the industries that will be hiring them. That's the key factor with this. So the types of academic credit that we offer are to support those jobs that are available. So one of them is a technical certificate of credit, or our TCCs, and these are generally completed in less than a year, and they offer education, again, that's going to lead directly to employment. In some cases, they're standalone programs where you complete that technical certificate and you obtain the certificate you need to go to work. In other cases, they're embedded within a larger program, and I'll give you an example of those. Phlebotomy. Phlebotomy is a great career to go into, and it's a technical certificate where they learn the skills needed to draw blood, to do all the back-end processing for the different tests for those that are going into the field of phlebotomy. And it is a standalone program. In other cases, we may have something like, I'm going to give an example, and I don't even know if this is an actual one or not, but we've got welding certificates. We may have a particular welding style that we've got a technical certificate, but they may earn that certificate while they're taking our full welding program. So a lot of different areas or ways that we can offer those technical certificates that's going to meet the needs of the business and industry. Our other two areas is our diploma and our degree programs. The diploma program generally can be completed in about a year and a half, and it broadens the student's base of knowledge beyond just those occupational courses. So certainly, if we go back to the example of welding, they're going to get the occupational skills that they need to be an excellent welder, but they may also have some mixed in general education classes, such as an English or a math class that would help them as well. And then our degrees, these are the highest level credentials that are offered at Wiregrass, and they can take up to 2 years to complete. And they're going to contain high level college courses that allow them to be able to, again, obtain those entry level positions in the workforce, but they'll have more general education classes and at that degree level mixed in with those occupational programs. And some of these degrees are transferable to four-year institutions. So if you go to our website, we have quite a number of articulation agreements that allows our students that if they're looking to advance their degree beyond what we offer at Wiregrass, we've made a concentrated effort to be able to provide that path for our students. In fact, we just signed one recently with Albany State, a great opportunity for our students in several of our program areas. So those can all be found on our website as well. We have several different ways that we offer our technical certificates, diplomas, and degrees, and that's through an online environment. And I'm going to tell you, and I know I'm not saying anything that you don't already know, but COVID has definitely given us the opportunity to make the most use out of the technology we have. We've all learned to make our classes very interactive using WebEx. That's the platform we use most often, or Blackboard Collaborate. Blackboard's our learning management system for our classes, and it allows students to be interactive. They can talk to their instructors just as if they're in the classroom. So we've learned to do things differently in this COVID environment while still making it a great experience for the students. So we have a lot of online classes, but then we also have our own campus. Several of our students just excel better when they're actually in front of instructors, they're working with other students, and they're in that face-to-face environment. So we've made sure that as we return to campus, and last summer, we started implementing things so that our students can feel very safe as they're returning during this pandemic. So we have lots of shields, having our face mask, making sure that we're cleaning our labs consistently and doing everything that we can so that our students, when they're on campus, they know that the equipment they're working with has been sanitized and that they can work in a safe environment. And then we also have a very strong dual enrollment program. And I know Dr. Cummings, I believe, was on this call, as well as Pam Smith. And we've got a great partnership with Coffee High School and the Career Academy. And being able to introduce the students while they're in that high school to a lot of our occupational program has been great. And I know the students have loved that as well. I was talking with Mike Day, one of our instructors. In fact, he is our instructor of the year for the entire state, and he teaches welding right there in Coffee. So I was talking with him, and we were talking about some of the high school students that he has, and they're doing so well, and they've got an upcoming competition that last year they placed second among many other high schools that were competing. So we're excited to be able to work with those high school students in our dual enrollment program. So looking at the academic programs that we offer, we have 4 occupational divisions, and those divisions include allied health, our business, education, and computer information systems programs, professional services, and our technical and industrial. And then we have a 5th division that really just covers our general education programs. So on the screen, you'll notice that several of the programs are in bold font. I did that so that we could identify those that are offered specifically on our Coffee campus. And we have others that may be offered in an online format or on one of our other campuses. So we've got a great nursing program. Our practical nursing program is located on the Coffee campus. We also have paramedicine, phlebotomy technician, as I mentioned earlier, and then we offer a lot of our allied health core classes, which are required if they want to be able to enter one of the other programs like opticianry or pharmacy or radiologic technology or surge tech. So we've got some choices where they can still remain on the Coffee campus even if they're wanting to go into radiology. We also have the business, education, and computer information systems. We offer accounting and finance. We have business management, business technology, and then CIS. And then we also have health information technology, which HIT is a program that kind of crosses over with both the medical and our computer fields. And it's offered, a lot of those classes are offered online, so students can take some of those classes online and then complete the program on the Valdosta campus. And then with our professional services, we've got a wonderful area for our commercial truck driving on the Coffee campus and some great instructors. Cosmetology, criminal justice, we offer the early childhood care and education program. And then we also have our fire science technology program that's offered online that our Coffee students can take. And then with T&I, we've got diesel truck maintenance, we've got the industrial and electrical systems, machine tool technology, technical studies, and welding and joining technology. And then we offer all of our general education classes as well. And you can find a complete list. This kind of just grouped the main categories, but we have over 180 technical certificates, diplomas, and degrees within all of our campuses, and all of them are listed on our website. And so you see the link to the website on the PowerPoint here, and I'd welcome you to take a look at those because you might be surprised at how comprehensive our program offerings are. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to mention, and I touched on this just a minute ago, our students, we think, are one of the greatest assets that we have at Wiregrass. They do a phenomenal job, and our instructors spend so much time making sure that the students, when they leave their program, are ready to go into the workforce. And we want to make sure that that they're excelling. So I'm proud to be able to show you a picture of our 2020 Wiregrass Gold winner. She was also a 2020 state finalist for gold. So she was one of the finalists for all over the state of Georgia. And y'all, that is quite an accomplishment when you look at the competition they have around the state. So Jackie Mallard, she's our auto collision repair student and just did a phenomenal job. So I wanted to point her out, but then also to be able to talk just in general about our student body and how excited we are to have all of them out there and being able to represent Wiregrass and show off their skills. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, who's probably thinking, Deanna, you took way more time than you said you were going to take. But I get excited when I talk about our programs. But Jessica Thornhill, she's the Director of Enrollment Services, and I'll let her talk about the services we have.
Thank you, Deanna. It's hard not to get excited when you're sharing such awesome information. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Deanna said, my name is Jessica Thornhill. I am the Director of Enrollment here at Wiregrass, and I work with our recruitment and admissions department as part of the Student Affairs team. So today I'm going to share information with you about admissions, financial aid, and WIOA. So as you see here, just to give you a general overview of our admissions department, we have 4 campuses. We do cover an 11 county service area and have over 3,700 students currently enrolled. And as Deanna mentioned, we have a wide variety of diplomas, certificates, and degrees that our students can choose from. I always tell people, if you or anyone you know would like more information before applying, I highly recommend that you visit our website at wiregrass.edu/visit. You can register for an information session or a campus tour. Now, our information sessions are held monthly, and they cover a variety of topics and programs that are live streamed to our Facebook page. They're a lot of fun. In addition to our information sessions, we also offer individual campus tours, which can be done virtually or in person. If you do want to come out for a face-to-face tour, we are limited to 2 people per visit and masks are required, but we would still love to have you come visit us. Now, if you're at the stage where you're ready to apply, I do have the steps listed here. You can submit your application online or in person at any of our campuses. We do charge a $25 application fee, but we do offer a free application week each semester to give our students the opportunity to save $25 and apply for free. Now, once you've completed your application to be accepted, you'll also need to do a couple steps listed here. You'll need to verify residency and lawful presence, submit testing scores and transcripts if they're available, and apply for financial aid. Now, I will say many of our admissions guidelines have been amended in light of COVID to make the process easier for the student. Literally, the process to apply and be accepted at Wiregrass has never been easier. Now, there's still time for people to apply for Spring Express semester. It begins on February 18th, and our summer term begins in May. So if you have any questions on any of our programs, on getting accepted to Wiregrass, how to submit forms, tours, anything like that, please feel free to email myself or contact us at admissions@wiregrass.edu. And if we can go to the next slide, I want to share a little bit more information with you about financial aid. So our financial aid department operates under the guidance of Ms. Sheila Thomas, who you see here. Now, one thing I will say is at Wiregrass, we firmly believe in the value of a technical education. And we believe that our students shouldn't have to rack up mountains of debt to achieve it. Our tuition is only $100 a credit hour, and 80 to 85% of our students are currently receiving financial aid, which, as you see here, is money received from various sources to help students, eligible students, pay the cost of attending college. And this includes tuition, fees, books, and other expenses. Now, the first step is students complete their free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, online at FAFSA.gov. Once the student has completed their application, the college will receive the results and determine their eligibility for aid. Now, I've broken it down here into different groups, but essentially students can be awarded grants. You see them listed here. Now, unlike loans, these generally do not have to be repaid. They can be awarded scholarships, which are usually based on academic achievement or other specific criteria. And there's a link here to our foundation page on our website. The Wiregrass Foundation does offer internal scholarships for our students. We also have a link here for private loans. We've got some great resources on our website where they can learn more in that aspect. And last I have listed here is our federal work study positions. Now, these are great opportunities to allow students to earn money for up to 19 hours a week when they're not scheduled to be in class. So there are a ton of resources that our financial aid department can provide, and I would encourage you, if you have any questions or if you need assistance completing the FAFSA, you can always reach out to Ms. Thomas directly. You can email financialaid@wiregrass.edu, or you can go on the page listed at the bottom of this slide to learn more about everything our financial aid department offers. All right, so we'll move on to WIOA. Thank you. Now, the last area I'm excited to share information about today is WIOA, which stands for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Now, Ms. Charmaine Glenn, who you see here, is our WorkSource Georgia Program Director, and she is a wonderful point of contact for questions. Essentially, if you have a question regarding what WIOA is, she is a great resource to help you answer that. Essentially, it's a federally funded job training program designed to provide assistance to those who need occupational skills, either to obtain employment or to advance with their current employer. Now, eligible students can receive up to $6,000 a year in financial assistance for tuition. This includes other costs, which you see here, as well as retraining services. WIOA is also able to offer students up to $19 a day as a transportation stipend and up to $10 a day as a stipend to help with the cost of childcare. If you'd like to apply for these funds, you can complete the questionnaire online, and then you can meet with a representative in our WIOA department to complete the process. So if you'd like to learn more about this or speak to a representative, you can visit the website again at the bottom of the slide. You can reach out to Ms. Glenn directly, or you can email that department by emailing wioa@wiregrass.edu. So thank y'all for allowing me to share some information with you today. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to our next speaker, Ms. Kim Howard, who is our HR and Career Services Specialist.
Thank you so much, Jessica. As Jessica said, my name is Kimala Howard, and I work in the HR and Career Services Office. What we do in the Career Services Office, we provide a variety of services to our currently enrolled students, our past students, our prospective students, and our graduates. We assist in enhancing career opportunities and achievement of gainful employment. The services that we offer, they include job search skill training, resume development, interview skills training, and also mock interviews. Sometimes our students or graduates, they'll call us and say, hey, I'm kind of afraid of doing an interview. Can I set an appointment to do a mock interview? And we love doing mock interviews. And we also, at that time, we check resumes as well. We do handshakes, we do it all. Because when our students graduate, we want them to make a big and huge impression when they go for that interview. We also have an online job center. Our students and graduates, as well as our employers, they take advantage of that. On our job board, online jobs, only on the job center, we have positions that employers post with our office. The employers know that we have our students and graduates out here, so they're looking for some qualified students and graduates. So they contact our office. Also, employers, you know, when they're looking for exceptional graduates, they also contact our office. And then we also have the apprenticeship program. We also have the internship program out here as well. We also have employer spotlights, and this has actually been picking up since we've been doing our virtual, everything is virtual now. We've had several employer spotlights, and we had them in allied health. We've had some in machine tool technology or precision tune now. And what they do is they let us know and the students know more about their companies. And they also tell us a little bit more about the positions that they're hiring for. So we all win in this. And right now, on one of the slides that Jessica showed, we have a 99% job placement rate. And we are so proud of that. And what we do is we aim to keep that number the same every year or above. Now I will go ahead and turn it on to Kelly Peacock, who is the Executive Director for Adult Education.
This is Georgia. I'm not sure if there's a technical issue, but we cannot hear Kelly.
April, you want to start covering adult ed for Kelly, and I'll see if I can help her get unmuted.
Yes, I sure will. Kelly is our Executive Director for Adult Ed, and I was over adult Ed previously and still work with Kelly on it, so I'd be glad to. In our adult education program, we serve all 11 counties, and in some sites, some counties, we have multiple sites. But all of our adult education classes are free. We teach from basic literacy to GED preparation, high school equivalency diploma preparation, as well as English as a second language. In Coffee County, we actually have these classes on our campus there, and we teach morning, afternoon, and evening instruction. We also have the third thing you'll see is integrated education and training, what we call IET. We work with Brandy and her department to not only assist students in their basic literacy skills and earning their high school equivalency, but we also train them in an area in which they would like to have a career. And currently we're focusing on those that want to go into manufacturing. Roberta Lovett with our Regional Workforce Development Board and Charmaine with our WIOA helps our students with funding for that. And our current integrated education training program is industry ready, which is where they are earning forklift certification as well as OSHA certification. So no more are we just get your GED and done. We're GED +1. We want them to be qualified either to go to work or either to continue on into our credit program. We have a wonderful program called Ged Step Up, where once students have earned 2 parts of the GED and passed those, so they can begin one of our credit programs at the college for a small amount of one fee, and what Hope doesn't pay or financial aid does not pay, then our tuition is waived for those students. We are also now offering not only the GED test, but the HiSET test, which is another high school equivalency test that we have students have the opportunity to take. So we're excited about that new testing that we are offering.
Hey, April, this is Kelly. I'm sorry, everyone. I had some technical difficulties with my telephone.
That's okay. I was going to see if you were on before the next slide so you can announce that wonderful information.
Yes, sorry, everybody. We do have some very exciting news in adult education. Before they mentioned the Gold Student and the Rick Perkins winner, adult education has a Student of the Year called the Eagle. That's the Exceptional Adult Georgian and Literacy Education. And our student, Hannah Hadley, actually won the State Eagle Award for this year. So she gets to represent all of the colleges over the state and present her story about her success in adult education. So we're very proud of her. Okay, at this time, I'll turn it back over to Deanna.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it. And just wanted to wrap up real quickly. I know we brought a huge team with us to tell all about the things that we have going on at Wiregrass. And hopefully we've sparked some interest or some way that you've thought of a way that Wiregrass can help either your business, your industry, or a person that you know that may be looking at a new career or wanting to consider where to go to college. So we've got our contact information on the screen. You're certainly welcome to send me an email. My telephone number is there as well. But please let us know if you have any questions or ways that we can provide you with some more information. We're thankful to be part of discussions about workforce development in Coffee County and the great partnerships that we have with South Georgia State College and the Coffee County Board of Education and all of the business and industry and Coffee Regional Medical Center. We think that we've got a way of being able to help everyone in Coffee County to be able to provide the education that the students need to be able to make great things happen in coffee. So we know that there's always a need to continue discussions about workforce development, and I have got a survey on the screen, and I'm also, if I could ask one of our team members, April, Brandy, if one of you will also copy that and put it into the chat so that people can click on that and fill out, it asks just for contact information if you're interested in having further discussions about workforce development that we can put together at a later point. So if you'll take a moment to complete that survey for us, if you're interested, again, that'll be in the chat so that you can just click on it, and then it asks maybe 5 or 6 questions with your name, where to contact you, etc. So Ms. Henderson, we're going to turn that back, or Brandy, I think I'll turn that back over to you, or Ms. Henderson next. And just again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Now we'll have our second presenter, Ms. Roberta Lovett.
Hello, everyone. I don't have as many people, so I feel like you're going to get really bored hearing my voice, so I'll try to do my best. And Georgia, do you want me to pull up the presentation, or will you?
Roberta, I have it up on the screen. Can everyone see it?
I don't see it.
No, ma'am. It's
okay. One moment.
Okay. Well, while George is doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I wanted to tell everyone, first of all, that Douglas is near and dear to my heart. My husband and I got married. We met in Macon, Georgia, and he was from Blackshear. I'm from upstate New York, so we moved to Blackshear, which was culture shock to me. Macon was culture shock, but Blackshear certainly was. We lived in Blackshear for about 7 days, and I started a job in Douglas, Georgia at, it was Dutch Quality House, became Wayne Farms, but it was the old Campbell's soup plant. And I worked there for about 10 years. So Douglas was my home away from home, basically, and heard some rumors. Pilgrims announced they were closed, and heard some rumors about my facility, and decided I needed to look for something to do. And the Regional Commission had a job opening for someone who was going to assist people from Pilgrim's Pride that had lost their job, helping them go back to school, helping them get another job so that they were, not just at home with nothing to do, no way to help their families. So I took the job with the Regional Commission, and lo and behold, a few weeks later, I'm helping my friends who had been working at Wayne Farms for 20 years try to get certifications to go back and do the same job that they had been doing for 20 years. So I've been with the Regional Commission now almost 11 years, and I am certainly passionate about helping people. I saw it firsthand from friends that I'd had for 10 plus years struggling to support their families. So Douglas will always be my home away from home, even though now I live in Patterson, Georgia, which is even more culture shock. So I work for the Regional Commission, and I think Wiregrass, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm so used to people. I miss people. I work for the Southern Georgia Regional Commission, and before I talk about the programs, I just want to talk a little bit about where my funds come from And I will talk a little bit about how we interact, especially with Wiregrass, because they're one of our strongest partners. So we are, oh, Georgia, how do I change slides? Okay, so we're branded as WorkSource Southern Georgia. And in the state of Georgia, there are 19 workforce areas, and we're area 18. You can see there we're made up of 18 counties. Sorry about that. And like I tell all my friends in the other areas in Georgia, we're the biggest area by land mass. So we are a very large, very rural area. And I also remind lots of people, especially at the state level, that when they are designing programs, they have to keep in mind we're not Metro Atlanta. They have that we're rural South Georgia, and sometimes one program does not fit all. So how we're funded, and Wiregrass talked about WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. That is the way that we're funded. So the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, formerly WIA, was reauthorized by President Obama and signed into law in July of 2014. And it continues to fund workforce programs. And the money comes from the United States Department of Labor. The USDOL gives that money to the governor of the state of Georgia. The governor appoints an administrative entity, and through that administrative entity, there's a state workforce development board, and then the state workforce development board sends that to the technical college system of Georgia. It is not the same technical college system of Georgia that Wiregrass is under. It is, but it is a separate entity called the Office of Workforce Development. So USDOL gives the money to the governor, who gives it to the Office of Workforce Development. And finally, those funds come down to our local areas. When it reaches the local area, I don't just get the money and get to do anything I want with it. Our local elected officials are responsible for the money. So we have a chairman of our local elected officials, that's Chairman James Everett. James is representative of our executive committee. He's responsible for everything that goes on. Underneath our local elected officials is our workforce development board. And then finally, we have our fiscal agent and program administrator, which is the Southern Georgia Regional Commission. And then we have some sub-recipients, including Wiregrass. That's why you saw that they had Charmaine Glenn as a WIOA representative. And then finally to our customers, which would be the participants and the employers in our areas. So we have, again, our local elected officials, our workforce development board, and this is just the makeup. When you get down to the lower levels, I report to the workforce development board when I am performing my day-to-day things. When I go to the board at our quarterly meetings, I tell them everything that's going on. We talk about a budget and expenditures. We talk about performance. Everything that happens, they know about it. So let's talk about our executive committee of local elected officials. Everybody is represented on our executive committee of local elected officials. I told you that we represent 18 counties. There is a mayor or county commission chair from each of the counties in our 18 county area. It has to be one elected official. There can't be more than one elected official from any county. Each elected official serves for their term of office. No elected official can serve more than 8 years in a row. And I'll use Douglas or Coffee County as an example. So it's Coffee County, and it would be all the municipalities within Coffee County, Broxton, Douglas, and I'll forget some, but all of those put together, those chairmen and mayors get together and they decide who they want to serve. Right now it's Chairman Johnny Jowers, but the Coffee County commissioners, they rotate chairman. So Mr. Johnny will come off. So I'll be required to send a letter telling all of the local elected officials for Coffee County that it's time to determine who they'd like to replace Mr. Johnny. and they will get back to me and we'll go through a process of re-electing a person to sit on the board. And that happens anytime there's a change within the local elected officials, whoever serves on my executive committee. And our local elected officials appoint and fill vacancies on my workforce development board. They approve my regional plan. They assist in the designation of the one-stop operator. And the one-stop is where customers can go and access all the services available. Right now, it's the Georgia Department of Labor. Unfortunately, that's not working real well because of the pandemic. Most of the centers are closed, but normally a customer can go into that one-stop center and access services from vocational rehabilitation, WIOA, Wagner Pizer. So we have a one-stop that we designate in the area. They also review and approve my local performance, and they sign and approve the annual budget. We talked about, skipped it, sorry. The Workforce Development Board. So all of these things that I'm talking about, WIOA is very specific in the legislation about how it has to be. That includes the makeup of my Workforce Development Board. It has to be at least 51% private business representatives. And then the remaining members, and there's percentages for all of these: government and economic development, education and training, labor organizations, employee organizations, and community-based organizations. And the reason it's so specific is, number one, if I have money that's coming into the local area that we're supposed to spend on workforce development, who better to help guide us than private sector business, because they know what's going on. And then secondly, these other groups, especially government and economic development, education and training, they all have parts in what we do for workforce development. And so having everybody at the table and looking at what we do helps to make the right decision. This is just some general responsibilities of the local Workforce Development Board. But like I told you, I share with them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whatever's going on, whatever challenges or opportunities that we're facing, whatever that is, the Workforce Development Board and our local elected officials hear about that, because ultimately they're responsible for what's going on in our local area. Wiregrass kind of shared their vision that it's workforce development. Of course, that's what ours is too, but our true vision, our Workforce Development Board vision, is to empower Southern Georgia employers, individuals, and communities to prosper and grow the region's economy through a workforce development system that is inherently customer-centered, seamless, and effective. So ultimately, what we want is, whether it be an employer or an individual coming to see us, to make it easy for them to get the help that they need. My staff hate that I have pictures, but just like I hate Zoom calls, although it's necessary right now, I feel like that personal touch, that face that you need to see, is so important. You can see the smiles on their faces. I didn't make them smile, but we all have such a passion for what we do. We care about the people that we serve, the communities that we work with. And I think it's just so important to give that personal touch. Like I said, I hate that I get no feedback. So if y'all give me a raw or say something and make me feel really good during this Zoom call. I'm going to talk about now, finally, some of the programs that we offer. So Wiregrass talked about the different programs that they offer in the area, and they talked about nursing and welding, lots of different programs. And how we come into play for that is we do something what we consider as occupational skills training. So basically we give a participant comes in to see us, and let's say Joe Smith comes in and he is interested in pursuing and getting a certification in welding. He wants to be a welder. He understands that the wage is fairly high. Right now he's getting public assistance and he wants to be able to support his family. So he talks to one of our case managers or coordinators, and they discuss it. They do what we consider an objective assessment and an individual service strategy. They go through and they talk about it like, are you going to be able to go to school? What do you need to go to school? And they go through this process and they talk about, are there job openings in our area? Is this a demand occupation? And in the end, if they decide that it's something that is demand for our area and it's going to help this participant improve his life, then they issue him a voucher, not a real physical voucher, but a voucher for school that he can choose any school on our eligible training provider list, and he can take that voucher and go to school. Now, for the most part, you can see the providers that we have listed below. These are predominantly the providers that we use for the last program year and this program year. There are a few that are not listed on here, but for the most part, the majority of our students attend these providers and the programs that they offer. When someone is going to attend a school or a program, it has to be a demand sector. I pulled this from our regional plan. One of the things that we look at, and I think Wiregrass talked about it as well, is we look at what the demand sectors are. We look for current demand and future demand, and we determine what those things are. These are the top 5 as we were writing our plan: healthcare and social assistance, retail trade, manufacturing, accommodations and food service, and transportation and warehousing. Now, someone came in as an example, and they were interested in going in retail trade. That may not be someone that we send to post-secondary education. That may be someone who maybe just needs some assistance with a resume and help with job search. But someone maybe who comes in and is interested in going to healthcare, and like I think Deanna mentioned, maybe it's phlebotomy, or maybe they're interested in going into the practical nursing program. That's where our career counselors talk to them a little bit about what's required and would guide them if that's a demand occupation. And finally, we do have limits, and they talked a little bit about those limits. Ms. Charmaine is, we have service providers. So Wiregrass is considered one of our service providers. And the way it works is we get funds to our local area, and we actually contract with service providers to offer those services. So Wiregrass is one of our service providers, and Charmaine and some of the other staff that work with her help us provide those services to the participants. And there is a 2.5-year limit when you are able to get our occupational skills training. And it's a maximum lifetime limit of $6,000. And what that can include is your tuition, your books and supplies, and other things. And I say other things, your medical exams, your vaccinations, uniforms, your graduation fees. And sometimes I'll use the diesel mechanic that they had listed, Wiregrass did. Sometimes there's required tools, and a customer may not have enough money to get those tools, but it's required either for the program, or they're required to have those tools as they are going to go out and get their first job. If that's a requirement, WIOA can help them with that. And then finally, and I keep going back to Wiregrass's presentation because it ties right into mine. They talked about some of the grant assistance like HOPE and Pell and some other federal funding. All of those grants have to pay prior to WIOA paying, and that's just part of WIOA's legislation as well. So HOPE has to pay, Pell has to pay, and then finally WIOA takes over for whatever is not covered. Of course, if someone doesn't qualify for HOPE or Pell, then WIOA can pay immediately, but it's always a requirement that students who are applying for WIOA fill out the FAFSA, and all the financial aid officers do know that. And like Wiregrass talked about, we do offer some supportive services. There is a daily stipend that we offer depending on your round trip mileage to your school from your home. It's between $15 and $19 a day. And then there is a $10 child care stipend. Unfortunately, it's just $10 a day. It doesn't matter how many children you have, and it's only if you have a child under the age of 13. And we truly understand that that is not enough to cover child care. But because our funds are limited, that's the most that we can expend. We actually, between our transportation stipend or child care, we pay the most out of most of the areas in Georgia. And my argument to that is we're a rural South Georgia. There's no public transportation. And this helps our students get back and forth to class. In addition to our occupational skills training, kind of jumping from what I consider the participant side to the employer side, I'm going to talk about on-the-job training. So one of the things that we do offer is on-the-job training. And this is more, it benefits both sides, but this is definitely a service that we offer to employers. So what can happen is, we can reimburse an employer up to 50% of the wage for the extraordinary costs of providing training to a new, I'm sorry, I get distracted when shiny things come up. I see questions come up and getting distracted. So 50% of the wage for a participant, a new person coming in, for the extra time that it takes to train them, the additional supervision that it takes. And of course, this is limited. It doesn't, we're not going to reimburse 50% for 6 months. We look at the job that it takes. We look at what the job is, and we determine the skill levels that the participant may or may not have as they're coming into that job. And then we determine the period of time. We don't reimburse for any kind of overtime or anything. And again, it's for a very limited period of time. The employer has to agree to immediately hire that person. They have to continue to keep that person employed after that period of training is complete. And of course, if the person doesn't do their job correctly or doesn't follow policies and procedure, that's a different situation. But the employer cannot hire the person for that training period and then just let them go. If that happens, then of course we wouldn't do on-the-job training with that employer again if that happened. And there's a lot more to that, but for the time period, I'm not going to go into detail. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the on-the-job training programs that we've done, and I'll use premium peanut. So we've only operated on-the-job training in our area since 2017, and the first time we did it was with premium peanut. So our community and economic development division wrote a oh gosh, they have big long names, a community and a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, that was going to assist Coffee County, and it was improvements to a rail spur that was going to allow premium peanut to expand. And it was like $750,000. And the regional commission wrote the grant, submitted it through DCA, and it was approved. And in doing that, our economic development director, Kimberly, talked to me a little bit about, was there anything else that we could assist premium peanut with? And anybody will tell you, I'm not afraid to get a no. It's not a big deal to me. So I decided to ask the state, TCSG, if there was any money, could we do like a large on-the-job training program with premium peanut? And I, put out a number that I thought they wouldn't agree to. Well, they gave me about $150,000 to work with premium peanut. And so we put about 100 people through their on-the-job training program, and it was a great success. We actually did a job fair, had about 400 people turn up. We were not expecting that, but it was great. Got lots of people. That was wonderful opportunity. And it was a really great start to our on-the-job training program. And we've done much smaller programs at all of these other companies that you see. I think our biggest obstacle, and something those on the call could help with, is a lot of companies are just real hesitant to do on-the-job training because they believe there are strings attached. Nobody believes that we're going to pay 50% of the wage and not expect something. But there's nothing. If you will just allow that person to come on the job, learn on the job, supervise them, we will reimburse that. So we're always looking for someone to give us referrals. It does not have to be a large company. It could be a company with just 5 people. As long as when you go through the pre-award process, you pass everything. You can't have recently had a large layoff or closed and relocated somewhere else. But in general, other than that, we can help you. And I really feel like it's a really valuable program. I think with so many companies struggling to fill positions now, this is a good time for us to be out there. And again, at the end, I'll talk about our website, but if there is a company that you know of that's interested, Amy Jones is our business services coordinator. She's the Energizer Bunny. You tell her a name and she'll be at their door tomorrow. So we'll talk about contacts at the end, but we would love any referrals for this program. So out of school youth GED. So I've talked about our occupational skills training, and that can be for adults, which is anybody over the age of 18. That can be for dislocated workers. So that's someone through no fault of their own has lost their job. That's anybody 18 to 100. And that can also be for youth. So anybody over the age of 18 could fall in that same category. Now, in our out-of-school youth GED, this could be somebody between the ages of 16 to 24 who, for whatever reason, is no longer in secondary education. And these are our high school dropouts. And I'm sure that everybody is aware, whether it be Coffee County, Pierce County, our rates for those without a high school diploma or its equivalency are just ridiculous. We actually had a special program that we had worked with Wiregrass on, and we have seen some improvement. We had some special programs where we actually worked with the adult population to try to increase those rates. And it was a real struggle, but Wiregrass did a wonderful job recruiting those people and getting them in and getting high school diplomas for some of that population. But we really believe that whether it be these 16 to 24-year-olds or even these adults, if we could get them back engaged in an education program and have them get their high school diploma or equivalency, that's such a pool of workers that we could get back out there to these employers. And I know Wiregrass continues to work so hard to re-engage that group of people. But anyway, we do an out-of-school youth GED program, and it's a partnership with most of our local technical schools. We work, again, strongest with Wiregrass because they're our largest technical school, but we also have partnerships with Coastal Pines Technical College, as well as Southern Regional Technical College, and also a private company called Eckerd Connects Paxton. But we offer training, tutoring, study skills, and instruction. For the most part, the instruction comes from the technical schools. We don't try to duplicate services because that's not a good way to spend federal funds. We offer incentives. So for example, if a student is in the program and they are able to pass all 4 portions of their GED, there's an incentive available for a youth, which is a big deal for a youth who's been struggling, who has a lot of barriers. We also offer paid work experience. When you're talking about somebody who is a high school dropout, has not been engaged in the workforce or in education, having something to put on their resume is a big deal. So we do work with local businesses to offer paid work experience to these students. We also offer supportive services. So, you know, they have to get back and forth to the technical schools to be able to attend that instruction. We offer a $15 a day support stipend. And there are other things. I think the biggest thing is that, again, we see so many barriers that these youth are battling. And so these counselors and case managers, and I don't like to call them counselors because they're not certified counselors, but these case managers / mamas and daddies make a big difference because they're constantly there for them. When they want to drop out, they're their cheerleader. When they've done something great, they're there to tell them it was a good job, that they're proud of them. And I mean, sometimes it's just those little things that keep them going, and maybe they don't have that at home, or maybe they're not even in a home. They're not quote unquote homeless because they stay with a boyfriend or with another family member, but they just don't have that support. So this program is probably the most near and dear to my heart because those are the stories that are unbelievably moving. In fact, one of our GED career case managers, she was actually one of our GED participants. She went through the GED program, got her GED, ended up being working for Coastal Pines and being a GED instructor. And now she works on our side of it and helps people get their GED and go on to post-secondary education. And that's something I'll add to that. We don't just finish with all these people. Like you heard Wiregrass talk about when they finish their program, then there's placement services. We have those same things too. So any of the programs that we put someone through, we follow them for a year afterwards, and that's a requirement. So our performance measures, we have to make sure that when they exit our program, 6 months after they exit, they're still employed. 1 year after they exit, they still should be employed as well. And that means that every month we have our case managers calling them and talking to them, seeing what's going on. You know, the adults and the dislocated workers, they're normally a little bit easier. They get their job. They seem to be more stable. It's probably a lot more labor intensive on our youth. They're just not used to it. So I would say our case managers spend a lot more time with our youth, making sure they're stable. Some of them that go into post-secondary education need lots more time and just a lot more guidance. But our case managers spend a lot of time making sure that when they finish our program, that they're actually ultimately successful. And these are just some of our partners that I talked about. You know, besides employers and everybody in our communities, we work very, very closely with our chambers and economic development authorities, our K through 12 school systems, most certainly our post-secondary education providers. Without them and their input and talking to them about what programs that they see a lot of people coming into, we wouldn't know how to guide our participants when they come in. And I guess I don't know if we're taking any questions. I saw a lot come in, and I think, Georgia, are you logging those questions for us?
Yes, there are some questions that have been dropped in the chat box. I'm not sure if we're going to let Ms. Paul wrap up and we go whenever she's ready to go in the Q&A session, or how you want to do that, Ms. Paul.
Okay,
that'll be fine. We can do it that way. Thank you so much, Ms. Roberta. Love it. Thank you so much for presenting that. And I see your passion and hear your passion in what you do. And thank you. Now we'll have Dr. Lewis Logan, the Community Concerns and Aspirations.
Thank you so much, Ms. Polk, and thank you again, Ms. Henderson, and thank you to all of the presenters and all of those who are logged in today and who are patiently ferreting and listening to all of the tremendously impactful and informative presentations about the various programs that you're offering. And I appreciated also Wiregrass giving kind of a laconic overview, a synopsis of your approach to needs analysis as you discern community concerns and needs. I represent a community as a pastor of Gaines Chapel AME Church here in Douglas, Georgia. And I'm part of a denomination that's been in the state of Georgia for more than 160 years. We are in a national denomination, and our foundation has been the encouragement, enfranchisement, and empowerment of people of African descent, oftentimes who are facing some of the enormous challenges that Ms. Lovett referenced, kind of as barriers to being able to pull themselves up, yet from a self-help standpoint, have been able to overcome a lot of the barriers that are intrinsic within the structures and foundations of this country. And certainly Douglas is a part of this country, and we have come a long way, and I think we have a long way to go. I'm appreciative of the opportunity to have these kinds of discussions, to not only hear many of the programs and the ways that there are efforts ongoing to provide access to our community residents, who in my opinion are the most critical resource base that we have, regardless of whatever businesses or enterprises may offer opportunities. Our communities residents are our most precious and prized resources. And as a pastor who sees the needs, who knows that there are members who live from paycheck to paycheck, who work for $7.25 an hour, who work for $11.25 an hour, who are oftentimes impacted by, again, this egregious and very impactful pandemic, who have been a part of a pandemic, and not to be metaphoric, but just to really put it into real terms. A young man who's a member of my church, who's in jail right now, whose arraignment date keeps being pushed back further and further, and for no reason. And he's not making any progress. He is, and when he gets out, what will he do? We have to be able to meet the needs of Michael. And my hope is that he will not be stigmatized by his time behind bars. And yet the community sees, on the other hand, others who are released from jail from other communities. And there's an injustice, a perception of injustice and malfeasance within the criminal delivery system here in this city and around this region. I am, with those who work in various capacities where their jobs are very tenuous at best. They work 2 and 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. They have to make tremendous decisions between either buying medications, paying rent, or paying for food. And so part of that, as Ms. Paul mentioned in the outset, has to do with the economic disparity within this community. Our hope is that this table, at a table like this, and future conversations like this, can get at the nuts and bolts of how we can bridge this gap. As much as our presentations and PowerPoint presentations are flowery and stunning. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to all of the opportunities being offered, and I'm frustrated because I would love to have had to be able to talk to the members of my church about what you're offering, but I see a gap. I don't see a connection, and the conversations are not happening. Our aspirations and hopes would be that this would be the beginning of future conversations. And again, kudos to our electeds who helped to push this agenda, to Ms. Henderson who helped to pull us together, to Ms. Polk who's helped to kind of help us to navigate this process of communicating, and to our presenters today who have done what I think is an excellent job in helping us to get a sense of the scope and depth of the program offerings that you have. And as much as I am appreciative of that, I am also extremely moved by the need to ensure that these resources are low-hanging, that they can be pulled down and disseminated to those who are coming to me and are saying, Pastor, I want to do this, I want to do that, I can't. I don't know how, and I don't know what to tell them. I share their frustration, I hear it, I see it, and we need to be able to make these connections. They're real, and the people that you are helping are real too. And as much as we champion those who are definitely making a difference and impact in their lives through your program offerings, the disparities are still stark and tremendous. And I guess the question for us is, as excellent a job we're doing right now, is always the need to continue to pose the queries. How can we do things better? How can we continue to bridge these gaps? And how can we continue to create mutually beneficial partnerships that realize employment that pays more than $7.25 an hour or $11.20. I don't know how they make it. I don't know how my family, my church family, makes it, and the communities that our pastors represent. I hope, again, going forward, that we will set a future date, a future time where we can do more of the intersectional conversations that need to take place, and look at a way in which we can create plans that also pull into, for instance, let me just kind of put things in more of a specific kind of a context, which I think was kind of the catalyst for these conversations. And Ms. Henderson and I and others were part of what was a presentation of the Urban Redevelopment Plan. And as a part of the redevelopment plan presentation that was to the community raised concerns about the timing of the outlay, and to the credit of our community of CDD, the opportunity for community input was offered, albeit at a time and during this pandemic. It was early in the morning, and we pointed out that there were some issues with that. I mean, there's always an opportunity to do better, but at the same time, there's always the opportunity to reimagine what we do. And one of the things that we talked about was the fact that two things that I'm going to conclude, and hopefully there'll be some opportunity for questions, is the fact that there is a need to look at, when we look at properties and when we look at communities that are in disrepair, buildings that are in disrepair, and this is what we mentioned, and this is what we talked about, is the fact that there's a story behind that. There's a reason why communities are in the shape that they're in, and there's a reason why people are oftentimes in the shape that they're in. That oftentimes, if you look at the community, you look at the places where we live, there's a connection, and there's a story, and we need to be sensitive and aware of those things as we begin to make associative process and procedures to meet needs. One of the things we mentioned was the possibility of looking at ways in which the construction projects that are highlighted by community development priorities and protocols can be opportunities for workforce enhancement from indigenous populations. Those communities represented in those stakeholders and neighbors in those communities, representing those who actually do the work in those communities in order to enhance community pride and a sense of ownership. I will conclude with this. It is aspirational that we continue to have these conversations, to reimagine what we do, and to be honest and to tell our stories in a way that all of us feel heard and respected, in a way that there's a continuum of open-ended and yet some strategic and intentional ways we can meet needs. I think that, as I like to say, when we all win, we all win. When only some of us win, all of us lose. And when all of us win, then all of us have a stake in the outcomes. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to create, hopefully will be a table where we can all be heard and we can all win. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Logan, for that. Now we will have our questions and answers. That is our next step. If anyone has any questions and answers, and I think you've been directed to put them in the chat. Is that right, Ms. Henderson?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So if you have any questions, please put those questions or comments in the chat, because as Dr. Logan said, we don't want this to be the last meeting. We want to still have a table for people to come to and to express the needs of the people that are in the community. Any questions and answers, please put them in the chat. We won't hold up on that because it's already getting late, and I know everybody's probably today. So
I'm sorry, there are a few questions there. I don't know if you have access. If not, I'll read them off if you like.
Okay, yes, ma'am, you can go ahead.
There's a question of how do we offer resources for someone interested in international trade and manufacturing? And the second part of that question is, what outreach strategies do you find most effective for recruitment from the local African American community? You know, when that question came in, Roberta was presenting. So I guess it was intended for her.
I'll answer the first part. Resources for someone interested in international trade and manufacturing. If someone were in, and I'm going to answer it general, and if I'm not addressing what you asked, just let me know. So if someone came in and was talking to one of our case managers and was interested in international trade and manufacturing, the first thing that we would do is we would look up, this is just from WIOA standpoint, we'd have to look and see if there was, that program was on the eligible training provider list. We would look to see if it was on there, and then we would look to see what training providers offered that. So for example, let's say we found it, but maybe it was only available from the University of Georgia. We would talk to that person and let them know that, yes, it was available. It was available from the University of Georgia. And then we talk a little bit to them about the opportunity. If it's on the eligible training provider list, we're willing to offer assistance. Now, we wouldn't be able to pay for a dorm room or things like that, but we would still offer assistance with the tuition like we talked about. As long as Hope and Pell covered things first, we would assist with the training, the books, the fees, everything. We have what we consider customer choice. You know, we try to point people in the right direction. If they want to go, I don't know, if there are two programs that are very, very similar, and one is a private training provider that costs 3 times as much, not that we would stop them, but we might say, hey, the smart decision is this. But for the international trade and manufacturing, if that program was available, it was deemed demand, we would definitely help that person out with it. And we'd work with them, you know, of course it would have to be logical for them to be able to go there. Could they cover their other living expenses? The second part, I mean, we don't do a lot of recruitment for anybody. Funds have been cut consistently over the last couple of years. And for example, and I talked about, we have providers. So we don't offer direct services. All of our providers do that for us. But we haven't had to recruit because of the lack of funding. Some, like Southern Regional Technical College is one of our providers. They didn't even get to put on any new adults this year. So the recruitment piece for us doesn't happen a lot. This sounds horrible. When the economy is really, really bad is when we get the most funding. That's terrible, isn't it? But thankfully right now with unemployment rates, even though we're going through a pandemic, the unemployment rates haven't shown the pandemic yet. So our recruitment efforts are non-existent right now. Mostly people are coming into the schools or into the providers, and that gives us enough of the people that we don't have to do any recruitment. We don't necessarily ever focus on any specific, like the African-American community or the Hispanic community. Of course, we collect all the demographic information because we have, strategic populations, and that happens to be one of them, but we don't recruit specifically for any.
Okay, the next question, and this could be for Wiregrass or the Regional Commission, are our major employers helping to develop our high school and post-secondary curriculum?
Hi, Ms. Henderson. This is Deanna Clements, and I can address that question for Wiregrass. Our curriculum is actually developed with the input of business and industry, and it's a statewide curriculum, so all of the technical colleges use the same curriculum. If you're taking welding from Wiregrass Georgia Tech, it's the same welding program with the same competencies that you will have from any of the technical colleges. Now, there are opportunities to develop custom programs, and again, that's going to be with the input of our business and industry. And one way that we keep the relevancy of our programs is by having advisory committee meetings. So twice a year, we have an advisory committee meeting, and our advisory committees consist of the business and industry that are hiring graduates in those program areas. So we're getting input from business and industry to say, yes, there's some relevancy to what you're teaching. We'd like to see more of this concept added to the course, things like that. And we bring that back to our state meetings so that we can, again, keep those programs relevant to what the business and industry is needing.
Thank you.
I can add
speak for the K-12 school system. The K-12 school system conducts surveys of local business and industry partners, and that's one of the pieces that our CTAE programming works through, with surveys of local business and industry. And then they use that data to determine what programming we'll have in our schools. And then we also have something called our Business and Industry Connection, and our CTAE department meets quarterly with local business and industry leaders, and they talk about needs within business and industry here in the community. And in our high school, when we went through the academy process to determine our academies and pathways at Coffee High School, there was numerous meetings with the Economic Development Authority and business and industry partners to determine what pathways and what we needed to name those pathways at the high school that they would be. And then we also work closely with the technical college system, TCSG. We partnered with the technical college system and Ford Next Generation through a grant with the technical college system to develop our strategic plan. And during that process, we met with business and industry leaders to talk about the pathways and such that we need to offer to the school system. And I'll give you an example. When we were developing our career academy a number of years ago, we had to decide what kind of lab to put in. We had these ideas of, let's do something really kind of exciting, a culinary arts lab or something like that, or something that really might be exciting, you know. And so, but when we met with our business and industry partners, they said, we need welders. That we are outside of Elkhart, Indiana. We are probably one of the largest manufacturers of cargo trailers in this part of the country. And so our business and industry partners said, we need welders in Coffee County. And so instead of building something like a culinary arts or something that we hope might go over, we built a welding lab that our business and industry partners said we needed. And right now, that's our #1 program through our Career Academy and the dual enrollment through the high school as far as pathway for students to get a high school diploma, learn a skill, and then be gainfully employed. We've got students who have graduated from there who were making right out of high school $40,000 a year, close to $50,000 a year. And those are good paying jobs in our community. So that's how we work on the pathways and the offerings in the K-12 system.
And I'll add, we have Amy Jones is on the phone. She's our business services coordinator. We have a sector strategy program, and we are specifically focused on healthcare right now, but that builds partnerships with healthcare employers, post-secondary education, K through 12, brings them all together at a table so they're all talking about the programs and how we meet the needs of those employers, going all the way back even to elementary education. And it's been very, very successful, and a lot of great feedback and a lot of information shared. And we're hoping to expand that into manufacturing and logistics as our next focus. But we do look at that, and I think all of the partners listen to each other and take that into consideration when they're creating their programs.
Okay, another question is if the presentation will be made available. We are recording. We plan to share it on the City of Douglas YouTube channel. Once that is posted, I can send everyone the link, and you can view it and share it throughout the community and your agencies as well. And we also, with the permission of Wiregrass and the Regional Commission, would like to make the presentation available and distribute that out to everyone via email as well. Great. So we will definitely make that happen. The next question is if there are any summer jobs, if there are summer youth jobs or internships available.
That would be me. There are not. So when we went from WIA to WIOA, the focus really shifted. In WIA, the focus was on in-school youth. So about 75% of your program money was to be spent on in-school youth, those within in-school. WIOA changed the focus completely and actually moved that funding requirement to where you were spending at least 75% of your funding on out-of-school youth. So that really moved us away from doing any kind of summer programs, because most of the summer programs were for our younger youth. We spend most of that money now on our work experience programs that I mentioned. So all of our youth that are going through our GED programs, we offer those work experience opportunities, and those happen all throughout the year. So we don't really have the funding available to do those traditional summer youth programs that we have in the past. Now we do have work experience opportunities. So for example, for those students that are attending GED programs in Douglas, for example, through Wiregrass, if there's a work site that you know of that may be interested in having one of those youth, you can just reach out to me. I'll get with our provider, which is ETC Schools there, and we can get that set up. If we have a youth that can make it to the work site, we would love to have an opportunity.
Okay, and the last question that I see in the chat is how can the faith community assist with dissemination of program promotion and or student recruitment? And part two of the question is how will the public know what jobs the industries are looking for?
Georgia, this is Tina Anderson, the president of Wiregrass. I'm glad that question came up, because I wanted to certainly issue an invite for anybody who want to, and this was Dr. Logan's question, but we'd love Dr. Logan and members of the community to come out to the campus and look at our programs of what we're doing. We've got some great things with the Career Academy there. We've got some technical and industrial area that the Development Authority is helping us refurbish. So there's some tremendous partnerships there, and we would love the assistance of other groups in the community to help us recruit and make sure that we're getting that word out just this that you said, Dr. Logan, getting that word out to everybody, because if it exists and people don't know, then that's just a shame that we don't get that word out to everybody. So we welcome the assistance, we welcome the partnerships. So while we might not be giving you specifics here about how you could help, we would love to say, let's start by our open invitation to come to our campus, meet with us. Let's go around and look at programs and look at the things that we have that students might be interested in. We would welcome that wholeheartedly.
And I don't have anything to show you. Dr. Anderson can show you everything, but no, it says everything right. I can give you contact information. We are more than happy for everybody to share our stuff because we're so proud of it. Isn't that right, Dr. Anderson?
That's right. And we have stuff in part because of Roberta in that partnership, and that's from the citizens of our communities. And so there's nothing we would like more than to have more people take advantage of what we offer at Wiregrass. So this is a great opportunity.
If I may, Ms. Henderson, and thank you so much again for Madam President. I thank you so much for the invitation. And I want to also offer the invitation for perhaps interaction at some appropriate and COVID safe setting to provide interaction with community partners. Now, I also want to just say this. I know that to some extent, to a great extent, a lot of what needs to happen within our communities. We simply need to organize community block organizations who will create a sense of vision and direction for specific communities and can articulate from those types of interactions and formats a kind of way of expressing to you from our standpoint what needs there are in the community. I think that as much as I'm grateful for the conversations you have with industry leaders and community and business partnerships, I do think I covet the opportunity for the faith community and other segments of the community to be a part of a table that we will develop together. I think the augmentation of our conversations will bode well for the future of our community. We simply cannot live viably with the types of jobs that are predominant within our communities and the economic challenges we face. And then again, some of the health and mental health and physical health challenges that we have that are replete within our communities, and they have to be addressed. And we want to be partners in that. This is why we're at the table currently and today. But let me go back to, again, the issue with the summer jobs, because if we do not provide some type of strategic plan related to summer employment for our youth, we're going to incarcerate and we're going to create community pressure that will disenfranchise our young people who are in our schools, who want to be in schools, who want to return to schools, and who want to be viable within the school settings. A lot of times what we find in terms of behavioral challenges are because of challenges that our youth are facing at home and in their communities, and they don't have the wraparound services that allow them to be able to settle in, focus, and do the work that needs to be done. And simply warehousing them in an alternative program, and especially our young girls who are facing enormous challenges, including sexual violence and sexual harassment, are just issues that we have to begin to address. And that means we have to be at the table to discuss these things and to come up with that, as again, faith leaders and community persons like yourselves within your various agencies and at the tables that you frequent and foster relationships with them, have to be able to kind of pull all this together. So I'm looking forward to, again, future interaction, conversations like this. I want to thank the members of Gaines Chapel and the members of the community at large. Again, Ms. Hawk, for really helping to facilitate this, Ms. Henderson, and all of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And now, summary of the meeting, takeaways, assessment. I will say from my perspective, I think that This meeting had a plethora of information that was necessary, that was needed for our community. Now, that was brought to the table. Now I feel that now that it's at the table, now we have to get the people in the community to the table. So I hope we have future meetings that we can address getting the people to the community, in the community to the table, so that they can take advantage of all the wonderful things that Wiregrass and SGRC presented today. So that's all I have as far as takeaways. Ms. Henderson, would you like to say anything about takeaways or whatever you may have?
I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming together and share information and educate us all. I learned something today from the presentations as well from both agencies. Thank Dr. Logan and the other community members for the interest. I think going forward, there needs to be or plans to be some individual meetings, one-on-ones with Wiregrass, with Dr. Logan, and with the Regional Commission as well. So whatever we need to do, however the City of Douglas need to be involved, you all just keep us posted.
Thank you so much, Ms. Henderson. I think that will conclude our meeting. And as I said before, a plethora of information was shared. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, for giving up your time this afternoon. And thank you for allowing me to moderate. We appreciate you. We will be getting in touch with you, with Ms. Henderson. So thank you all. Y'all have a blessed afternoon.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.